Practice 30, the Sixth Paramita Cultivating Non-Conceptual Superior Knowledge. Without superior knowledge, it is not possible to attain perfect enlightenment through the first 5 paramitas alone. Therefore, joining it with skillful means and not conceptualizing about the 3 spheres is the practice of a bodhisattva. Here, the term superior knowledge is actually a word that we sometimes think of as being about information, understanding. But knowledge can also mean the sense of knowing. In fact, the English word for K-N-O-W comes from the Sanskrit J-N-A-N-A, Jnana, the root of the word know. In Sanskrit, jnana means wisdom. So it's not just knowing, so it's superior knowing or superior knowledge. And here it's saying that we cannot actually realize our full potential. It's not possible to attain perfect enlightenment through the first 5 paramitas alone. We must actually have this superior knowledge, and without it we can't complete the journey or open the journey to its fullness. So what is superior knowledge? Well, it's not conceptualizing about the 3 spheres, which is to say that sometimes we orient ourselves as here and there, this and that, in a dualistic and what is necessarily a conceptual formation or construction of relating to reality. And these concepts are quite handy and useful, and we have language and all that, which is quite helpful and good. But when we are unconsciously sort of conditioned or programmed into the assumptions that we naturally make that are unexamined, that are based on employing concepts to navigate our world, we can have an intellectual understanding of the path and of generosity, patience, and discipline, and meditation, and exertion. But we won't actually experience the full sense of the paramita, meaning the transcendent activity or action. The ordinary versions of those are all quite good, but the transcendent element has to do with this notion of superior knowledge. The 3 spheres are the conceptualization of actor, action, and acted upon. And it is interesting that we kind of linguistically and then sort of automatically or generally quite easily come up with ideas about our world of myself, what I do, and what I do that action to or for, or to whom I act upon or act with, or to what I do act, and to who and to what, So there's this idea of orienting ourselves very much in terms of actor, action, and the acted upon. However, when we meditate with the superior vision of Vipassana that we spoke of in the previous paramita of meditation, we begin to develop an experience of non-duality or non-conceptual experience where we realize that there isn't really an actor that's separate from our total experience of action and acted upon. In other words, the outer world and the inner world are a fluidity, and the action is a fluidity. You could say there's an exchange of energy, and there are different points of consciousness and different objects and people, but essentially the nature of that experience is to see that actually a lot of our conceptions are just the same as dreams, in that we construct a seemingly real environment or relationship to our environment, but as we explore it, we realize it is not as solid or as it seems when we start to realize that our thoughts, our senses, and our subjective experience of all of that are one fluid experience of this superior knowledge or awareness or knowing, there is the possibility of still knowing the difference between here and there, this and that, but not believing in the dreamlike distinction of them having different natures or that they're actually separate in any real way, that there's a fluidity to it. In the Vipassana meditations, we discover that we are empty of a solid self or empty of a person who is fixed. And we have an empty awareness. It is empty of being a thing, and yet it shines like light or sun in a clear, cloudless blue sky. That empty awareness therefore knows objects, but those objects are simply the play or display of that empty perceiver. And so there really isn't a separation between perceived and perceiver, even if we can identify our locality and other people's locality. This experience helps us see that life is much like a dream at night when we become lucid. And when we see that, we have what is called skillful means. So therefore we join our superior knowledge with action. And when that happens, when we're coming from a perspective of non-dual awareness or empty awareness that feels a part of things, then naturally our actions take on a different tonality, a different context, there's almost a whole nother level of possibility for what we could do with creativity, sensitivity, playfulness, humor, gentleness, patience, all the qualities, of course, of generosity, discipline, patience, exertion, and meditation, all become expressions of an awareness that sees them all as abilities or tools. And so all of this kind of so-called skillful action or appropriate action or skillful means comes from having this more free, empty awareness perception, which allows us to feel more joy and more connectedness to everyone and everything, and more of that dreamlike creativity of, like in a dream, we can be very playful and creative. It doesn't mean, though, that we prefer our perspective, our point of being, and our empty awareness's perspective over that of people in a dream who are still asleep. In fact, if we acted outrageously, we would just confuse them and scare them because they are believing in their dream. So our job becomes to help wake them from the dream, to help them realize they're dreaming. And so skillful action also, or skillful means, has the notion of it's not enough to just sort of celebrate in our own empty self or empty awareness, but we really want others to join the party, and we want to do so in an effective way that doesn't just trigger people's insecurities and fears. So we, coming from this empty awareness, behave in ways that have different capacities or intentions around working with different aspects of people feeling like they're buying into their reality in a dualistic way. And the more that we can help them see through that, by being attuned to their particular needs and the dynamics of the situation, especially because we've cleared out some of our own hang-ups, we're more free to act on their behalf. And so yes, we awaken people from their dreaming and their sleeping so they too can enjoy the creativity of this amazing, brilliant, empty awareness that can create anything, is part of everything, and itself is not stuck as anything at all. It's unbelievable, this sky filled with light and potential for creativity in life. So we have this in us, in our Buddha nature, and we also have this practice of cultivating this non-conceptual superior knowledge, which initially we have with intellectual and conceptual understanding. Through meditation, we begin to have glimpses of that experience. And then finally, maybe even put a stage before that, then we have some time where we can actually arise from that perspective and be helpful. We might get confused again, and then eventually we're more and more stable in that vision, finally culminating in the kind of full awakening of sort of not being able to regress back in any real way. So that kind of sort of talks about the journey of the path of attaining perfect enlightenment, as is spoken of. So without superior knowledge, it is not possible to attain perfect enlightenment through the first 5 paramitas alone. Therefore, joining it with skillful means and not conceptualizing about the 3 spheres is the practice of a bodhisattva. So that sort of summarizes what I was trying to say. And these teachings are so inspiring because we can incrementally build from mistake to progress, from success to success, or from failure to learning. It's doesn't have to be some idealized version of the path, but it can actually be this beautiful thing to remember. This is our nature's potential to be more and more creative, skillful, and loving. When we have a viewpoint or a transformation of our vision, it's much easier to do these kinds of skillful actions for others. If we're not actually coming from that point of view, we're imitating that, then our actions can be clumsy, but we learn from that too. So, it always brings us back to renunciation of things that don't lead to us really understanding our true nature. And so the path is always winnowing us back to the key point there of resting in our true nature.